So we are in Unit 4, still graphing linear equations, and this is day 4. Still, for the next several days, all we are focused on is slope.
It's day 3.
Day 3, not day 4, I'm sorry. I pretend that I'm smart. Sometimes it comes through, most of the time it doesn't. So slope. So far we've learned one way to find slope. The first way, so ways to find slope. The first way was from a graph. If we were given a graph, we used rise over run. And we knew the rise went both up and down. We knew the run went left and right. But I also added something with this. What letter did I say the rise was? Evan?
Lowercase m. Oh.
Well, that's slope, so this does equal m. That's good. What letters associated with the rise, though? David?
Y.
So the rise were my y's, which meant the runs were my x's. And we've seen examples. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's say I start here, and I go here. So we go up 1, up 2, over 1. So m is 2 over 1. So the difference between the y's is how many jumps? How many was the jumps for the y's? 2. The difference between my x values was what?
1.
Listen to what I'm saying again. The difference between my two y values was what? Say it again. What was the difference between the two y values? How many jumps did we have to go? 2. What was the difference for my x's? 1. 2 over 1. So this is from a graph. I use the word difference. In mathematics, what does the word difference as an operation mean? What mathematical operation does the word difference mean, B?
Subtraction.
Subtraction. Very good. So, here's what we're learning today from 2 points. So, we're going to find slope from 2 points. And there is an equation. The equation says m equals. And if I taught this to algebra, I'd say, okay, it's going to be delta y over delta x. It's going to be the change in y's over the change in x. Stop. Y's over x's. Everybody with me? How many points do we have? 2. The equation is y2 minus y1. When I have 2 and 1, that's saying, well, this is the second point, this is the first point. Everybody with me? That's not y squared. That's a subset. That's just telling me which point we're using. So if y's are in the top, what do you think is going to be in the denominator? Evan?
X.
Okay, so what am I going to write in the denominator?
Oh,
If I had y2 minus y1 in the numerator, what do you think in the denominator?
x2 and negative x1.
So it's not a negative, it's minus. Okay, and that's important. I'm glad you said that. So Evan said, hey, it's negative x1. Well, no. So this is the formula that you will see in algebra. I'm telling you right now, this is the formula you'll see in algebra. And now I'm going to give you a slight modification to it. Just like we did in the warm-up. So red's important. We're going to say m equals y2's in parentheses, a subtraction sign, y's 1's in parentheses, divided by x2 in parentheses minus in parentheses x1. So the difference in y values, the difference in x values. Difference. Subtract. B told us that, right? This is a chug and plug because sometimes I'm going to give you big numbers or numbers that you don't want to graph. Do I love counting on a graph? Yeah, it's pretty easy. But do you want to make a graph if I give you the point negative 43? Do you want to go all the way down to negative 43? No, me either. Okay? So, it's going to say simply, find m. And here's our examples. So again, which one are we using? We are using this guy right here. Are they the same? Absolutely. But I want you to be focused on those parentheses, kind of like the warm-up. Okay? So we're going to find m. Here's our first 2 points. 3, 5, 7, 12. The first couple may be tricky, and that's all right. I always want you to think about the alphabet. If I say my alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y. X first, Y second. X first, Y second. I want you to look at these numbers and label each value. So it will be X, Y. Does everybody agree with that? What's 7 going to be, X or Y? X, Y. Everybody's still good. Is that hard? We've just labeled it X and Y. Which is my first point? Does it matter? Which 3, 5 or 7, 12? Which one comes first? It doesn't matter. But because we read left to right, 3, 5 comes first, right? So if that comes first, I'm going to put a 1 with them. Those are my first points. Still with me? Which means the second point gets what with them? 2's. So now I've got an x1, a y1, an x2, and a y2. To find slope, it is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. We're substituting in. So I'm going to take my y2. So I'm going to say m equals y2 is 12 minus my y1. And this is where you need to be careful. This is why we label. What is the y1, Abby? What is my y1? So if y2 was 12, what's y1? Which number? 5. Okay. Divided by x2 minus x1, which is 3. Have I lost anybody on how I substitute in? I mean, this is easy, right? We're physically substituting numbers in. We've done this on our last test with substitution. We did this on our warm-up. As long as you remember the formula, it's easy. So let's keep on going. 12 minus 5. What is 12 minus 5? I need some help. We've already proven I'm not very smart. Haley? 7. What is 7 minus 3?
4.
Can I simplify this? There's my slope. Okay, so I'm going to write this up here. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, parentheses. So I can erase everything. Now, I've got a question for you. Let's say I don't like x1, y1, x2, y2. So, everybody, I'm going to leave this up here. I'm going to redraw the same thing. We're going to do the same problem. 3, 5, 7, 12. We're going to do the same exact problem. We're going to say x, y, x, y. Let's say somebody tries to be funny. I'm not going to take a guess, but Swill's like, I'm not doing it your way, Mr. H. So he says this is x2, y2, x1, y1. Okay, you jerk. Fine, Swill. You fool. Why are you doing it that way? Because I want to, Mr. H. Okay, let's see if it works. y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Oh man, Swill. Why are you doing this to me, man? So, what is 5 minus 12? So it's going to take a little bit. What's 5 minus 12, Haley?
-7.
Negative 7. Divided by. What's 3 minus 7? Raise your hand. Go.
-4.
Negative 4. Can I simplify this? Well, let's think about it. What's a negative divided by a negative? Oh, so I can simplify my two negatives. Negative divided by negative is positive. Wait a minute. So switching the order doesn't change my answer? Not at all. As long as you label your x's and your y's, you should be good. Questions on that first one? So there is only one other little problem that we could have. Well, actually, that's not true. A couple little problems, but we're going to start off simple today. Let's say I've got -3, 7, -10, -1. Okay? So here's what I'd like you to do. I would like you to try to label your letters. Or label, let me try this again. Label your numbers. So if nothing else, label your numbers. So label them with X's and Y's. And then go from there. We're just going to stop. You all right, Jackson? Ready, B?
Yeah.
What am I going to label -3?
X2.
X2, okay? Jerk. What about 7?
Y2.
Okay. What about -10?
X1.
What about -1? Okay. Is that the way that I would have done it? Nope. Does it matter? Absolutely not. Okay, here we go. Substituting in. This is why it's important to have our parentheses. So, I know that my problem has to look like this. Does everybody agree? I would almost even start every single time finding slope with some empty parentheses and a minus sign. So, y2 goes on top. y1. x2 goes, then x1. Everybody with me? The reason why we want the parentheses is because it's minus a negative. That changes things a little bit. So now we're reading this as 7 minus a -1. What happens when we have a minus a negative? You told me earlier. Oh, it would be a positive. So this turns into a plus. So now I have 7 plus 1, which is 8. -3 minus a -10. Well, what happens to a minus a negative? Turns into a positive. So now I have -3 plus 10, which gives me what?
7.
Here's my slope. Okay? And if you really want to be specific, you're going to say 8 over 7 equals m. Because our slope is the variable m. Questions? I'm going to leave these on the board. Okay? So your notes are out. Here's my equation. This is what we're using. I am going to hand whiteboards out to everybody. I'm going to hand markers out to everybody. We're going to do about 15 minutes of practice on the whiteboards. So you're going to get them. You're going to show me the answer. We're going to do 2 at a time. Fair enough? So you don't need anything else out on your desk.